Is there non-duality in Christianity? I feel drawn to non-duality and at the same time a lot to Christianity. And that's interesting, Florian, that you wrote that before the talk, before you knew what I was going to talk about. And the sayings of Jesus, maybe it's not so far apart in essence. How do they relate to each other best, Florian? Thanks, Florian. Well, my feeling is that a lot of the people that started these organizations had an awakening. So there's non-duality seeping in and out of them, but then there's this grandiose delusions that they begin to go into. Not necessarily the teacher, like I don't know Jesus, and over 2,000 years ago, and I think Christianity's been very mixed with politics and lots of people's interpretation. But initially there was most probably an innocent awakening that I spoke of at the beginning, and then like lots of stories have arisen around it. Like the awakening in this life is like the highest thing that can happen in the sense of it's absolute freedom. So it's so revered to us, that freedom, and seeing that freedom again. But it gets mixed in all these stories. What I would say though is if the teachings touch you and you feel a collapse happening when you're listening to Jesus' sayings or teaching, so a collapse into nothing rather than a like growth into being lots of things, then that's really beautiful. But this is always a reduction, if it's giving you lots of new stories, then that's about you and your personality structure and you becoming something. But if it's like touching something where there's a disappearance, then there's something non-dual happening there. It doesn't matter about the different ways in which people talk about it. It's really a collapsing back into this. Tony Parsons used to say when I used to go and see him, if you leave here believing in anything I say, you've missed the whole point. I just love that. And then it's the same with Christianity. But Christianity can have some great psychological benefits for the human on the human plane, but that's not what we're speaking about in non-duality. But I can imagine how being part of a group, how the 10 Commandments, the teachings can be really beautiful for a more harmonious and peaceful life, but that's not what's being talked about here. What's being talked about here is a disappearance into the freedom of what you are, which has no story, which doesn't belong to the Buddha, to Jesus, to Krishna. Yeah, to any teachers. But I'm really of the opinion, I think, to really explore for yourself when that disappearance is happening, and all the things that you're holding on to begin to fade. And pay attention to that. But no, equally, it's not for someone. You can't do that. Like, how could a person choose to fade and disappear? The person would never choose to fade and disappear. But for some reason, there can be listening to talks or reading certain things and this resonance with that. Another question. Is there an awareness of what is called angels and heaven, etc. in Advaita non-duality? Maybe in some schools of non-duality, I don't know, but in the way that I was taught, so through my teachers, and in the way that I teach, no. I remember a friend of me once said that an angel is the representation of awakening. It's a little bit like the quote from Nisargadatta Maharaj. To know I'm everything is love. To know I'm nothing is wisdom, and in between my life resides. And my friend said to me, you know, an angel is, they have one wing in everything in life, you know, they come to earth, and then they have one wing in the beyond, in heaven, in the nothing, in the emptiness, and then their body is in between the two. So in a way you could say both of us are, or not both of us, all of us are angels. I mean, in Buddhism they have things like bodhisattva and different Buddhas and things which you could maybe see as angels. But these are all stories that are adding something to you. And this is talking about a disappearance. Who is it that is watching the thoughts about angels and heaven? I'm not saying don't invest in that. It actually might be really healing for the person to get involved in angels and heaven. But what we're speaking about, the awakening, isn't that. And I'm not speaking about believing in angels and heaven. It's just like an exploration that has no belief, that can be healing for the body. And healing for the story, you know, like doing therapies, like using different archetypes to change things and to change ideas. However, to me, that's not non-duality. Non-duality is the recognition of that which is experiencing the angels and the heaven. You know, good and bad, so angel and demon is a representation of our dualistic thinking in a way, if we looked at it as archetypes. So of course it's in the world. So what is it that's experiencing that? Right now, who knows about angels and demons? Who knows about you that's interested in angels and demons?